from the federal government. I also want to thank our entire Illinois federal delegation, led by Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth. Their leadership to protect our city's crown jewel, Lake Michigan Shoreline, has been nothing short of magnificent, and we all owe them a debt of gratitude and praise, as well as moving the Brandon Road project ahead, which will deepen our region's efforts to protect the Great Lakes. And Congressman Foster will talk a little bit more about that. I also want to thank the Army Corps of Engineers for their partnership in this work. We would not be moving forward without their advocacy on our behalf in the federal government, and I'm grateful that we now have broken the logjam, gotten the resources to fund this study and move forward. I also want to acknowledge and thank the members of the Chicago City Council who are here with us. These members are on the front lines of climate change every single day. Rising lake levels and the devastation that it causes to our residents, they have to contend with this because they're hearing about it, they're seeing it, and are living in the communities that are most deeply affected. From north to south and in between, I want to thank all of you for your tireless advocacy and work on behalf of making sure that our lakeshore is preserved for our residents. So thank you very much. Lake Michigan is a crucial and iconic part of Chicago. We not only rely upon it for our clean water, but its beautiful shoreline draws residents and visitors alike to our city, making it vital to our tourism industry and economy as a whole. It is the thing that sets us apart from every other city in the country. Over the years, however, a series of environmental risks have threatened the beauty of our shoreline: rising lake levels, climate change, years of erosion, and much more. These risks, of course, are not cost-free. High lake levels and erosion, for example, impact communities along our entire shoreline, and that includes people living in residential areas on our north and our south sides. One of the recent storm surges that hit, I remember on the south side, and Alderman Harrison can attest to this, residents blocks away from the lake had flooding in their basement. Parking garages, buildings, blocks away from the lake, we're seeing the effect. So climate change is real, and this is an issue that we must address head on, and this investment will go a long way in making that happen. Our parks, our paths and roads, and resources our residents rely upon every single day for recreation and transportation are also impacted by our lakeshore. Repairing our shoreline is therefore critical to the health and well-being of our residents and the environment, and it's long been a priority for our city. And while we've worked to repair urgent damage, more long-term solutions are needed to protect our shoreline and the communities who live, work, and play alongside of it. Solutions that could take ultimately over $500 million, but it will be an investment well worth the cost. And if you look at the census, where we have grown as a city is along our lakeshore. So all the more reason, again, why we need to make sure that we protect this incredibly valuable asset. That's why, since day one of my administration, I have been pushing for the funding of the Chicago Shoreline General Reevaluation Report, and let's just say simply, the Shoreline Study. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have been active partners in our shoreline efforts to date, but they are operating on a study, as you just heard from the Senator, that is 25 years old. And due to the many climate impacts on the shoreline, and particularly over the last 5 years, a reevaluation of this study is absolutely essential. We need it to protect against the rising lake levels. So I'm happy to report that the city has committed $1.5 million as our local match, meaning that with this $1.5 million federal investment, the shoreline study is now fully funded, and folks, we are ready to go. And we have also demonstrated our commitment to repairing our shoreline through 2 city-led projects funded through Chicago Works, our capital plan that was approved by the City Council 2 budget cycles ago, our city's first multi-year, multi-billion-dollar infrastructure initiative in decades. First important project, and near and dear to my heart, is Promontory Point. in the Hyde Park area. Promontory Point is so iconic. It was one of the first places that I gravitated towards when I moved to Chicago many years ago. It's on the National Register for Historic Places, meaning that the eventual shoreline solution at this location must be coordinated with the Illinois Historic Preservation Officer, as well as our very engaged, right, Leslie? Very engaged local community. They're going to have one or two opinions about what happens at Promontory Point. The second area that's important is the Morgan Shoal project. The Morgan Shoal segment offers opportunities for new amenities and much-needed land expansion just north of Promontory Point. In May of last year, the Army Corps completed a $925,000 emergency contract to armor a portion of Morgan Shoal, which supported the additional $1.5 million the city put towards the project in 2020. Currently, the Morgan Shoal project is in the design process, and we look forward to holding public meetings this summer to move it along in a way that reflects the needs of the surrounding community. I'll be there with you. Don't worry. We are deeply committed to completing both of these projects in the near future, as the shoreline segments they cover are two of the most complex in the entire shoreline project. With the funding from the bipartisan infrastructure law, and we should give it up to President Biden and the others who pass this, historic funding of infrastructure, not just talking about it, but actually getting it done. With the funding from the bipartisan infrastructure law, we have an unprecedented opportunity to make real progress on repairing our beloved shoreline in other areas and meeting our current and future environmental needs. And this new funding for the shoreline is an incredible step forward. Similarly, the Brandon Road project is critical to our region and to the health of our Great Lakes and water supply. By constructing a new engineered channel at Brandon Road to test and deploy a range of technologies, this project will prevent Asian carp, an invasive, terrible species of fish, from moving further north into our Great Lakes. And I want to again thank Senator Durbin and the entire Illinois federal delegation for securing the funding we need to complete these two very important projects, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers, our local partners in the City Council. I also need to thank Gia Biaggi of the Chicago Department of Transportation, Rosa Escareno of the Chicago Park District. These are all partnerships that are important. And I should say, you know, we're all Democrats, but that doesn't mean that we all get along. We're going to disagree from time to time on issues. But the thing that unites us is that we have to come together at every level of government to make sure that we are doing the people's work. And this announcement today, in my view, is a great testament of what happens when we rally together, when we listen to each other, but importantly, when we listen to our residents and our neighbors, and we focus on what their needs are. When we do that in a united front, then nothing can stop us from getting good work done on behalf of the residents of Chicago.